Let's talk about Pong, baby. Yeah, it was awful, wasn't it? Pong, invented by Mr. Alcorn and released in the early 70s, involves two bats on either side and a ball that goes back and forth. A table tennis style thing it's often referred to. And it's very entertaining. Very entertaining. This is a home Pong dealie made by somebody and branded Hanimex that I have had for a very long time, but not when it was new. But since I was a teenager, and it's very cool. And I thought I'd lost it, but I found it in a box during a cleanup, and I am going to hook it up. It's got a few different games on it. It's got football, squash, practice, which is sort of bouncing a ball up against a wall, as I recall it, and tennis. And I think with, well, tennis goes from side to side, squash, both players play up against a wall, and football, I can't quite remember how football worked. Maybe there were two paddles that moved together on each side or something like that. Anyway, it's got a whole bunch of controls for bounce angle off the bats, bat size, and then it's got a serve button and a reset button, and this comes off here. Excitingly, the power connector and the second player connector are both 3.5mm jacks, although one's stereo and one's mono. It may be that they've been clever to make sure that getting it wrong didn't destroy everything. This is here because the video output from this fellow, which comes out of the end here, is on this occasion a PAL RF signal. That is to say, the television couldn't tell that the Pong was not a transmitter tower on the other side of town. And back in the day there were switches on a lot of people's televisions to switch between their antenna and a video game console like this one, or even right through until the Commodore 64, which had built-in RF output, which made it hugely compatible and massively reduced the cost of entry because an additional CRT was not required. I need to get from analog to a modern standard, and this thing, which is the other half of this video, is such a box. It has antenna in, TV out, audio out in stereo, not that the Pong will produce stereo, and it has a VGA output and a VGA input, and the VGA input uses this special plug down here. I've never really dealt with the VGA system, and I've got a note here for myself that it requires 12 volts at 1 amp, and I've got to put a Dymo sticker on the bottom. 12 volts, 1 amp, center positive. You may think that all of these barrel jack type power things are center positive. However, most musical stuff I've come across, like keyboards and so on, are center negative. Anyway, so this is my grand Televiewer Pro. I don't have the remote, but it's okay. It's littered with buttons, and I'm not going to have it in my lounge room and be trying to control it remotely. I've not found a menu setting I can't get to with all these buttons. I bought this used many years ago because at the time getting access to any kind of scaling system was very difficult. A decade ago there wasn't the range of things for vintage computer enthusiasts that there is today. So that's my Grand Televiewer Pro. It's one of my two ways of displaying a RF, no, three ways of displaying an RF television signal, radio frequency. I've got this I've got a little, I can't find it, or I may have set it all up here, a little Casio portable television with a terrible LCD display. And I have a 4x3 Samsung LCD television that has all of the inputs, including analog television. Not digital, analog. Most modern televisions will not tune an analog signal. I did have a USB television tuner that I had hopes for. I thought I might be able to capture it directly, but it was digital only. So this is Pong, and this is how I'm going to display it. I'll set all of this up and do another video where we Pong. But for now, a bit of a look at the parts. This is model number 666TN. It's on channel 1 and it's made in Hong Kong. It's the Hanimex electronic TV game. If I find out much more about it, I'll put a link in the video description. But I'm not trying to be a museum on this one. I just thought I would share both Pong and one of the ways of getting some of these old RF things to work. The only thing I could do is try and hack it apart and find the composite output, if it has one, which it most likely does, that goes into a generic converter. But I won't bother, you know, and I want to pull it apart, and I don't want to spend a lot of time on it. I might set it up at a vintage computer fair sometime soon.